Hey, Scott, what kind of camp is Cam Little had? And how close is he to winning that job?
He's done a really good job. I think that the big thing for him is he came in this spring, so it kind of helped him get a leg up a little bit. A lot of your freshmen don't make it here this summer, so it's good getting him in the spring. Because this spring he really struggled, but when he got here this spring, he was field goal, kickoff, and punting, trying to figure out all he could do for us. And we really tried to back that up. Back part of spring, just let him focus on field goals and kickoffs. And he's had a really good camp so far. We've been real pleased with him.
What is it like about what he's
He's making his field goals more than anything. He's getting great height on the ball. He's got good operation. His kickoff ability has gotten better. That's another area that I knew coming in. That was kind of he can place the ball correctly, but we need guys that can put it in the end zone and out of the end zone. We want to do that, and that's something he's getting better at. That makes sense. In terms of field goal kicker, he's making his field goals, and we're moving it around on him. He's doing a really good job of that, and he's worked hard and got a positive attitude. So, real pleased with that.
Hey, Scott, we've heard about Greg Brooks maybe possibly being punt return, but who else is in the mix? And can you talk about kick returners as well?
Yeah, punt return for us, I've come from a background as a special teams guy that I've always really tried to find a really good player to do that. I think it's a game changer. And I think it's the one thing in special teams. We talk a lot about the 11 guys in the room that as effort. And I feel like punt returns always effort up front. And I feel like we're getting that from our guys. We just got to have the right guy on the back end. So, we got Greg working back there. We've got Nate Perotti working back there who played quite a bit last year. Bryce Stevens has done a good job for us, a freshman. And the Lowry kid's been back there a little bit as well. You mentioned Greg Brooks. And Greg come to me this summer. He said, Coach, two things I didn't know about him. He said, my dad played in the NFL. That was kind of interesting. And he said, Coach, I want to play even more special teams for you. And a lot of kids are not always that way. He said, Coach, I said, well, how many players are you playing in a game? He said, about 70. He said, well, Coach, I play on all 4 units. So that's kind of attitude our football teams had, which is really good. Now, we're not going to play them on 4 units. We can't. I told him that. But he also enlightened me. He said, Coach, I can catch a ball. I can return punts. So we started working it this summer, and that's been a good pickup for us, a guy to find that can do that.
I don't know if he had to make any moves on his 69-yard interception return. But what have you seen in terms of why he's a dynamic?
Yeah, well, and I didn't use the word dynamic right, but what I would tell you is this. He can feel the ball, and that's the most important thing. But for me, and I've worked under head coaches that want somebody, that can feel the ball. And that is the most important thing. But I've also felt like your best punt returners are guys that are a little bit dangerous about that. They feel the ball well, but they might not feel it as well as the other guy, but they're going to be a difference maker when they touch football. And that's what we're trying to find at that position. And I can't remember the guy's name that played here that had an unbelievable run against Tennessee. Joe Allen, and I've showed it to our team. And we want to get back to that. It's been a long time since the University of Arkansas has had a punt return for a touchdown. And we talk about that, and we want that to happen, and hopefully that'll happen this year for us. Kick returners, you mentioned, right? At kick returners, we've really, you have Davion Warren, that's coming off an injury, but so it really gave us an opportunity to focus on some other guys. So we've worked Day Bishop back there. We worked Rocket Sanders back there, Raheem. We have Slusher back there that's done a nice job for us. And then we have Oglesby back there. So it's a big group back there. TJ Hammond's in that mix a little bit, but that we really focused on KR really late last week. So we didn't start out early on doing that. So I got to really get that cut down. But I think we got some good candidates, and man, they've worked hard at it this summer, on their own, catching balls and stuff. So I'm really pleased because they got some guys about it that really want to be back there, and that's a big part of it.
Is it better for Davion maybe to not do that coming off the knee?
Yeah, well, Davion, the thing I've been proud of with him is he just wants to do what we need him to do, But that's kind of the thought for me is, I want to have him ready, but let's, might get some other guys ready. It's good to have an experienced guy back there.
Coach, how difficult is it to sort through return men when, I can't imagine you guys go live very often in that. How difficult is that?
Right. So, most places I've been, the head coaches are kind of against that, and particularly with kickoff return because it's such a big collision. So we try to make it as real as we can with full speed action and tagging off. And that's really what you can do. Now we may come out in the next scrimmage, particularly with our punt returners, and do a tackle with it, and typically if you tackle, you might get 3 reps for that, but you just don't get a lot of opportunities for that. But we try to do things that make the kids feel like there's pressure around them. So, when you're catching a punt, you can have people whacking at them with bags. We have a lot of drills where some competitive drills that we do to try to have some battles going on with 4-on-4 and have guys in their face and stuff, and really focus on fielding the football, but really knowing what they'll do after they catch it. I mean, you just got to try to get a feel in these live scrimmages without tackling and hope you're right on it,
According to Coach Pittman the other day, it sounded like Sam Loy maybe had a little bit of an advantage at punter, but I think he maybe got banged up a little bit. Where's that position battle going right now?
Yeah, really coming into camp, it was Sam and Reed Bauer. Reed is our returning starter from last year, but Sam had a really good spring, and I kind of left spring feeling like Sam. I left spring feeling like Sam was in the lead, So we competed in the summer, and they're competing this fall, and Sam's going to be fine. He'll be back with us shortly, but they're competing, and that's a real battle. The Foley kid we brought in from Nebraska has surprised me and done well for us as well. The thing that he brings with him, he's a Midwest kid, right? So he is kicked in wind a lot. And here I find out, you have wind here at times, and he's not bad when he's kicking into the wind, which is a tough trait for any kid.
I guess not just Arkansas, but even nationally, how much did the COVID kind of affect the weekly disruption special teams play overall? And does it make you all more prepared in case this Delta variant, crops up this fall?
I mean, I think we're more prepared with any kind of protocol they come to. But last year, it was kind of my world. We're getting tested on Sunday, I believe, Tuesday and Thursday. So, I might find out on Monday I lose a guy. I might find out on Wednesday I lose a guy. But I mean, you can imagine preparing all week, and then Friday they come in and tell us 6 guys are out. So, like last year, I believe it was an Auburn game. We lost about 8 guys, and it was really tough. So we go to that game, and I have a third team, probably 4th team guy that I've worked some at third team that's starting in the game, and those things are tough, But it's also tough for the defensive coordinator and the offensive coordinator. But for me, if they lose a guy or 2 on defense or offense, well, that guy had on teams, I might have lost him on the team because he's got to now play more offense or defense. So there's a little more goes into it on my end. But the protocol of it and the testing and all that, I mean, and the Delta variant, you worry about it, and hopefully they'll get all that under control, But it's different, from anything we've ever done before.
I think Roy was the holder with Cam and Jordan in the spring and summer. But if Roy's dinged up as Bauer, who's your number one holder right now?
So
what's going on there?
Reed Bauer, real quick story. I call him Dark Horse Bauer. I don't know why his name. I just come up with it. So a year ago, Reed Bauer never really held kicks ever. And I said, man, we got to get you a holder, man. You're a punter. You got to learn to do that trade. And now, I mean, he's gotten really good at it. I mean, even today in practice, Pittman kind of gives them a big field goal at the end and puts pressure on everybody. And had a young snapper in there that had a kind of bad snap. Bauer reaches it, gets it down, and make the kick. And but so Reed's done a really good job. That's helped us. Sam has held it, and he's held quite a bit in his career, but never in a game. That makes sense. So I think we have 2 really good holders. We're also going to work some quarterbacks at holders. We'll work with those guys a little bit. You just want to have a mix there according to your travel roster.
Which quarterbacks?
Renfro's holding a little bit. Jones is holding a little bit. And we're kind of looking at some of the other guys, but those 2 are a little bit better than the other 3.
And then Jordan, maybe he's had a bad snap. I can't remember one. How good is it to have a guy like that who's been so consistent for so long?
Yeah, Jordan, we call him Mr. Positive, so you can ask Jordan a question and he's always going to give you the right positive answer. And I think that's probably carried over a lot for him in his career. I think he's a kid that, man, he works so hard, and he's a kid that, boy, he can blossom up and put on a lot of weight, or he can cut his weight down. But at the end of the day, Jordan is always wants to do what's best for Arkansas, but as a sniper, that's the thing I've told him, we got to continue to work on his coverage ability, which is always part of it with a long snapper, but the speed of snaps. But man, the thing he brings is just great accuracy, and hopefully he'll continue to do that.
From a recruiting standpoint, some coaches have different philosophies on offering specialists out of high school and stuff, but you guys have offered a few and brought some in. Cam's an example of one. Just talk about your philosophy a little bit there and why you take that approach.
Yeah, when I got here, we had one kid on scholarship, Jordan Silver at the time. And I've been in, at Auburn, we had 4. At Georgia, we had 3. So when we got here, we wanted to, with COVID coming on, we said we got to get some kind of a fix here for our team. We really didn't have a kicker coming back. The kid, I can't remember his name, but he graduated. That was here previously. And Matthew Phillips didn't know a lot about him. And there was another kid here that left and went to South Florida really before I even met him. So, we reached out, and A.J. Reed, he kind of had an up and down career, but on the tail end, he'd gotten better. So we decided to go with him at that time and scholarship him, right? And then at punter was kind of the same thing. Couldn't go out and evaluate anybody, and we brought George Carrington into the program. So Coach Pittman was trying to do it right, but it was really tough. You can see film, but you don't know what's getting cut out and what's not or whatever. So but those guys, they were good for our program. And so now, we have Cam in here, and Cam, what you want to do with that scholarship, guys, you want to go out and get the best guy in the country. You don't want to go out, because what you'll find out in the kicking and punting world is this: if you're a 1 or 2, you're really good. And there's all kind of rankings and all that, but I won't divulge my information. But where I go to look, that 1 and 2 is an elite guy, and then after that, there's a lot of good players. And if you don't use that scholarship, a lot of times you're going to get really good players that may develop into great players. Rodrigo Blankenship was a good player that developed into a great player. So that's why I think that scholarship is so important, But in a lot of cases where I've been as well, there may be a kid that comes in and he develops, and you ain't got to go out and get a guy because you got him right there in front of you. So we're trying, with Coach Pittman, we're trying to have a punter, a kicker, and a long snapper on scholarship and have the best players we can behind them. And for me, when they get here, it's never about who's on scholarship. It's about who the best guy is. But having that scholarship does give you an opportunity to go out and try to get some good, really good players.
Hey, Sam told us last week that Cam made I think 57-yarder pressure kick. It would have been good from 65. So you mentioned today there was a pressure kick. Who was the kicker, the length, and all that? You said it was good, right? It was good,
but it was good. That particular kick, well, it was Cam a little at the time in that situation. But and when Pittman gets ready to call what we call a tour last second or put it down somewhere and kick it, it's whoever's up in the order at the time. He doesn't really know. He's just going to say, hey, let's make the field goal. And it just happened to be Cam was up first that day. Cam was actually up last today in the rotation, but that's when it occurred. So that's kind of how it rolls. And what we're going to try to do here in a week to 10 days is kind of settle in on who the guy is. Matthew Phillips is obviously competing well and doing a good job. Vito Cavaruso is a kid that's from Missouri. That's, it was a kickoff guy last year. I think it's 70% on the year, which is pretty good. And his field goal skills are starting to get better, which I'm really liking where he's headed. But, we brought him here to kick off, but we knew he had the skills to kick field goals, and I like where he's headed right now.
Yeah, and I did want to ask you about Vito. So 70% touchbacks. Where can he be better this year? Yeah,
we can be better if he could continue to grow as a field goal kicker, because what he does have is a really big leg. And in the kickoff world, I want him to continue to develop, to be consistent, and be able to do other things with him. If you want to sky with him or kick across the field or whatever, you want to have that ability with the kid. And that, Daniel Carlson we had at Auburn, man, he was a deep left guy, and then the next year he's deep left with the sky, and then the next year he's deep left, sky right, sky left. So you want them to continue to build those tools. And as they do, we'll be able to do more things with them. That's what I hope to see out of him.
Okay. And the pressure kick today, you said it wasn't Jordan snapping. So was this your second? Who's your second snapper?
The snapper today, I'd tell you, to be honest with you, I'm just not sure. I hate to tell you, 'cause I don't know. But who's our second snapper? John Orline and Francisco Castro are battling that out right now.
You You always hear about players putting on weight over the summer. I normally do not think about kickers, but I remember talking to Cam. He said he put on 18 pounds and it really helped his leg strength. I mean, could you tell a big difference between him now and from the spring?
Yeah, a quick story on Cam. I'm at his high school. Now, he was the last in-person kicker I was able to see, at least watch from a distance or whatnot. And he comes out of the weight room that morning and his arms are about that big around. And I walked out, I'm turned off. I said, this guy ain't never lifted weight in his life. Well, they'd hired a new coach there. I think that was really good for him. I think when he got here, his bench max was probably 135 pounds, which is pretty bad, right? So he's put on weight. He's a kid you want to see put on weight, and he's gotten stronger. And that's what he'll tell you is the body weight I put on and strength has really made me a stronger kicker.
And you know how long the one you said he hit a long one today? Do you know?
Today wasn't a long one as much as it was just pressure. Pittman made the whole team get out there and get around him. Does that make sense? So, but it wasn't a chip shot, but it wasn't like a 50-something yard. It was probably in the 35 range.
Yeah. And is the punter, is that a pretty even deal right now?
It really is. I mean, the punting job, they're going to battle out, and then probably at some point next week, mid to late week, we'll kind of decide on who that guy's going to be. But that's really been a good battle this spring, this summer, and of course, right now in camp.
I know you don't tackle in practice much, I wouldn't think, on special teams, but how do you feel about your coverage teams? And would you put more starters on there, or just how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, we are certainly doing that, and Pittman's letting us use those guys. And, last year, our coverage units, what helped us in kickoff was we had video that could kick it out some, right? So 70%, 7 out of 10, you ain't got to cover, right? Technically. In the punt world, it's not the case. And I just feel like last year we were doing a lot of developing with guys, and you had this COVID issue going on. But, our kids, man, they worked so hard. I'm real pleased where we're at on our coverage units, and we're putting our best players. I mean, we're not keeping anybody off of our coverage units, and so, I mean, I think you're going to see a better coverage unit out there this year. And I think kids have a little bit better concept of what we're trying to do.
You say Sam was doing Tora. Is that what you
What's
said?
that?
Tora, like.
That's just a word people
like
use.
Pearl Harbor or whatever.
So I guess that's maybe where it came from. A lot of people use that to call a unit on the field real fast. Kind of the last play of the game on offense. They got names for that. That's the name he uses for last second field goal.
Okay.
Okay.